Welcome back to another project. In this project, we're going to create an image slider. As you can see from the final version of the project, we have an image slider that automatically changes every, for example, 5 seconds. Then we have two buttons here, the previous and the next button. As you can see, when we click on the button, we go to the previous image, and when we reach to the first image, we go to the last one. And also here, when we reach to the last image, we go to the first one. Also, we have a very beautiful box shadow and beautiful icons from Font Awesome. In the next section, we're going to start our project by doing the HTML part of the project. And then we're going to continue styling our project using CSS. And finally, we add the functionality to the project using JavaScript. So see you in the next section. All right, let's start our project. First, we open the Visual Studio Code. And here we close the Get Started tab. In the File menu, we click on Open Folder and we create our project wherever we want to do. I would like to create the project in my desktop, but you can create it anywhere you like in your computer. So we click on Desktop, and here we click on the New Folder button to create a new folder. And we name the folder Image Slider, which is the name of our project. We press Enter and we choose the Select folder. We close the Get Started tab again, and here on the left in the Explorer section, we right-click and we click on New File. We create an HTML file and we name the file index.html. Here on the right side, we see our file index.html, which is completely empty, clearly. And we can use an exclamation mark to create an HTML5 boilerplate. So we write an exclamation mark and we choose the first auto suggestion. We can use Alt-C to turn on the word wrap to see all the codes. And here we have the doc type, which tells the browser what version of HTML the page is written in. And in our case, we are using HTML5. So we just write HTML here. Then we have the HTML tag, which covers the head section and the body section. The lang attribute here sets the language of the page. And in our case, it's English. Then we have the head tag that includes metadata tags and the title. The first metadata defines the HTML encoding characters. So here we are using UTF-8, which is recommended by HTML5, and because it contains all the characters and the symbols, nearly contains all of them. The next metadata tells the Internet Explorer browser to use the most recent rendering engine, which is Edge. And the viewport metadata tells the browser on how to resize the page. The first part of this meta tag is just telling the browser to set the width to the device's width. I mean, if the device is mobile, the width will be smaller than the computer screen. The second part initializes the zoom level of the page, and in our case, it's 100%. Then we have the title tag, which is the title of our page. We can see the title by opening the browser. We can see the browser inside the Visual Studio Code by using the live preview extension that we have installed previously. So we right-click and we click on on live preview, show preview. Now we can see the browser on the right side with the title document, which comes from here. We can change the title. Let's change it to be Image Slider, which is the name of our project. We can see it here. And in the body section, let's add a container, image container for our, actually just call it a slider container. So it's a div with a class of slider container. Just make this one small. And we click on the auto suggestion to get the div. Let's close this Explorer section by dragging this line to the left. And inside this div, we make another div for covering all the images. So we call the div, we call the class of the div image container, and we press enter to accept the auto suggestion. And inside the image container, we're going to have some image tag or img tag. And for the src, we are going to use a website called Lorem Pixum. So let's go to the desktop. We click on the Google Chrome browser, and here we search for Lorem Pixum. So we just Lorem Pixum. Yeah, I missed the S here. That's fine. We have to click on the pixum.photos here, Lorem Pixum. This is actually a website that we don't need to sign up to get the images, and it's based on the Unsplash website. So the good things about this website, so we don't need to sign up or get an API key or some sort of things. And for example, here, if you want to get a random image of 200 to 300, you can just write down this one. So if you just copy this and test it here, we see we're getting an image. And if we paste it again, you get another image. So that's random, but I would like to choose a specific image. For a specific image and not a random one, we just need to add an ID and just put a number. There are plenty of images in this website. If you check here, the list of all images, they have too many images, and these are the IDs of the image. If you use the ID 1, you get this image, 10, you get this, and so on. There are plenty of images, like thousands of images. So we just copy this link using Ctrl+C, and we go back to the Visual Studio Code. And here in the src attribute, which is the destination of the link, we paste the link. Now we can see the image here. For the alt section, we just say image, alternative one. So for the size, I want it to be like a 500 pixels width and 300 pixels height. So this size. And we just need to copy this 4 or like 3 more times to have 4 images. Anything you like. It's a dynamic website. Whatever image you add, it goes inside the slider. So we copy this using Alt-Shift arrow down 3 times. 1, 2, 3. But all the images are similar, but we just can change the ID here. We just say, for example, for the first one, we just use the ID 1. I mean the second one. And for the third one, we just use 10. And for the last one, we just use, for example, 20. So we got 4 different images, and these images are specific. If you refresh the browser, we always get the same images. So they are not randoms. All right. And outside this div with the class of image container, I would like to add 2 buttons, like arrow buttons, so we can slide right or left. For having the arrow, where I would like to use the website called Font Awesome. You probably know about it. So in the new tab, we just search Font Awesome. And here in the search result, the fontawesome.com website, we click on icons. And here you can see a lot of icons, as they claim is 7,864 icons. So we just search for angle, and the one we want to use is a double angle. So this one, actually, the right and left one. So first we copy the right one. So we click on the icon, the angle double right, and we can see the HTML tag here, which is an I tag with a class of FAS, and FA for the Font Awesome. The FAS is the Font Awesome solid, and we have FA angle double right. So we copy this by clicking on it, we can copy it, and we go back to the Visual Studio Code, and we paste it just outside the image container. So we cannot see it yet because we have to we have to add a link to the font awesome CDN inside the HTML code at the top. So we just in the new tab, we search for CDN JS. And we click on the first link, cdnjs.com. And inside the search bar, we can search for the font awesome CDN. So we just say font awesome. And in the first link, we click on the first link and we scroll down a little bit and we click here to copy the link tag. We go back to the Visual Studio Code and just under the title tag and at the end of the head tag, we paste the link using Ctrl V. Now we can see the arrow here, which is the right one, and we just can copy this tag using Alt Shift arrow down, and we change the first one to left. So now we have two icons, the left and right. For styling this icon, we need to add some class to it. So we just, for both of them, we use Control to select both, and we add a class of btn for both of them, and we press escape. And for the first one, we add prev for the previous button, and for this one, we just say next. All right. Yeah, that was it for the HTML part section. And in the next section, we are going to use CSS to style our project and make this slider look better. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have finished the HTML part. In this section, we are going to start styling our project using CSS. First, we need to create a CSS file. So here we open the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E. And here on the left, we right-click and we click on New File. We name the file style.css. And we press Enter. Before styling our project using CSS, we need to add a link to the CSS file within the HTML code. So we go back to the index.html and just under the link tag for the font awesome, we add a link tag. We just write link and we select this third auto suggestion, the one with the CSS. Now we have a link tag with the relationship between the HTML file and the external style sheet. Here, href defines the destination of the link, and as both files, I mean the index.html and the style.css are located at the same directory, we just need to write style.css. Now we can use CSS in our project. Let's close this Explorer section by dragging this line, and we go to the style.css. So let's first style the container tag here. In the body section, we have a slider container which covers everything. Let's confine all the images inside that so we can see the styling of the body. So before styling the body, so we just say slider container, and we just set the width to 500 pixels, which is the width of the images, and the height to 300 pixels. And in order, now we have the container here, but we can see other images because we have to use overflow hidden to remove the other images from the container. So now we can only see the first image because the other images are outside the container and they are removed by using overflow hidden. So let's style the body now. We can see the changes. So first we remove the space around the body using margin 0. And we use display flex to be able to bring the container to the center horizontally. So we just use justify content center to bring it to the middle. And we can set the height of the page to be 100% of the viewport height, I mean the 100% of the screen size, but from here to here, now we can bring the items to the middle vertically using align items center. All right, let's continue the styling. Oh, first, let's change the background color to wheat color. And let's continue styling the slider container. Just add some border radius. So we round the border of the container. We set it to be 10 pixels. You can see the borders here. Let's add some box shadow to add some shadow effect to the container. So just say box shadow. The first value of the box shadow is the position of the horizontal shadow, and we set it to be 0. Next one is the position of the vertical shadow. We set it to 4 pixels. We can see it here. And we set the blur radius to 8 pixels. And we change the RGBA. I mean, we want to add the black color, but we want it to have 30% opacity. So we use RGBA function. Sorry about that. So we open a parenthesis. We just write 0, 0, 0 for red, green, and blue. And for the alpha value, we just say 0.3, which means 30% opacity. Let's use Alt-C to turn on the word wrap so we can see the code clearly. And yeah, that was it for the box shadow. And for the next div, which is the image container, let's change the image container. We just say display to flex. We want to bring the images next to each other. We cannot see the images yet because we are using overflow hidden. We remove the overflow hidden just temporary. Now you can see all the images next to each other because we are using display flex, but this is our main container. The things we want to do in the JavaScript is to change the transform property, the translate x actually function. So we just test it here. We just say transform translate x, and now the translate x is 0, and we have the image here. If we just change it to -500 pixel, which is the width of the image, we see the next image inside our container. And if we change it to 1000, go to the third one, 1500 goes to the last one. We want to do this using JavaScript, so we delete this and we bring back the overflow hidden here, so we don't see the other images. And let's bring the buttons the arrow icons. So we just target the btn class, which we were added to both of the icons, the itags. So we add btn for both of them. To install that, we just say .btn, and we change the position of it to be absolute. So we bring it inside the container. So you could see it here, but we want this position to be absolute relative to the parent, which is the container, a slider container. So we have to change the position of the slider container to relative. So now we could see if you refresh it, you can see the icons inside the container. So we can bring it up by changing its top position. We just say top 50%. So we bring it here and it's outside. Let's change the color to be white so we can see them better. Yeah. Let's change the font size and make them bigger by setting it to be, for example, 20 pixels. The default is 16 pixels. And it's not, we use the top 50%, but it's not in the middle completely, because the top 50% actually bring the top edge of the icons to the middle, if you can see it. So in order to bring the middle of the icons to the middle, we need to use a transform property, translate function, translate x function, and we set it to be, translate y function, and we set it to be -50%. Now we can see the icons exactly in the middle. Let's change the opacity of these icons to 50% so we cannot see them completely. And for the left and right, so we use prev and next classes, so we target them here. We just say btn dot. Let's set first we style the prev one, and we just say left. We set it to left 10 pixels, and for the next one, dot next, we set it to be in the right side. So we just say right 10 pixels. So now we see the icon left in the position of the 10 pixel of the left of the container, its parent, and also the right one in the right side, 10 pixels far from the edge of the container. Let's change the opacity to 100% when we hover over it. And also let's change the cursor to be pointer. So when we hover over the icons, we see the pointing hand instead of the normal cursor. All right. So we use the hover CSS pseudo class to target the hovering effect, and we change the opacity to 100% by just setting it to be 1. Now, when we hover over the icons, we see them more less clear, like more clear and with less opacity. All right. That was it for the I think that was it for the CSS part. In the next section, we are going to start adding functionality to the project using JavaScript, and we're going to add functionality to the icons. When we click on the icon, for example, right one, we see the next image, and when we click on this, we click the previous one. And also we want to add some timer to the project so the images automatically changes after, for example, 200 or 300, to 3000 milliseconds or 3 seconds. So see you in the next section. All right. In the last section, we have finished styling our project using CSS. In this section, we are going to start adding functionality to our project using JavaScript. First, we need to create a JavaScript file. So in the left side, we open the Explorer section using Ctrl-Shift-E, and we right-click and we click on New File. We name the file index.js and we press Enter. We move this file by dragging it and bring it to this section to see the browser here. And we close this Explorer section. We don't need them. Before using JavaScript in our project, we need to add a link to the index.js file within the index.html code. So we go back to the index.html, and just at the end of the body section, we add a script tag. We just write sc, and we click on the second auto suggestion, the one with the src. As both files, I mean the index.html and the index.js, are located at the same directory, we just need to write index.js for the URL in the src attribute. All right, now we can start styling. We can start adding functionality using JavaScript. So we go to the JavaScript file. The first element we need to get is this button element. So in the index.html, we see we have two icons, one with the class of prev and one is next. The one we want to target is the one with the next one. We want to add the events listener. So when we click on it, we see the next image. So in the index.js, we target the next class. We just write const, we make a constant, we name the constant next element, and we just write document dot query selector, because we have a class here. We want to target the class. We need to return this element using query selector, and inside a set of parentheses, we just need to add the class name, but with dot, because it's the CSS selector of the class is dot. So we just write dot next. We can use Alt-C to see all the codes and turn on the vote wrap. So we press Alt-C, and we add a event listener to the next element. So we just write next element dot add event listener. The add event listener method actually attach an event handler to an element, and it has two parameters. The first parameter is an event, and the event we want to use is click. So we just write click in a double quote because it should be a string. And the next parameter of an add event listener is a function, actually a callback function. So we make an arrow function. So this function will be triggered when this event happens. So inside this set of curly braces, we can write down our statements. So first, let's index the number of images. We just say, we make a variable and just say current image. We just say current img, and we set it to 1. So the first image would be 1. And when we someone click on the link here, we want to add one number to this current image. So we just add current image plus to increment current image 1 each time someone clicks on it. So after this, we need to update the image. So make a function here. We call a function here, and we create the function down below. So we just write function, and we name the file function. We name the file function update img. Sorry. Yeah. So the things we want to do is to just, as I mentioned in the last section, we're going to use transform translate x to see the next image. So we want to target each image, and we need to first inside the, as you can see in the style.css, in the image container, if we add transform translate x, for example, minus 500 pixels, we get the next image. So in order to do this in JavaScript, first delete this one. First, we need to target this container, image container, which is inside the index.html here. So we return this one using query selector method. So we make a constant and we call it image container element, and we use the method document.querySelector, and inside the set of parentheses, we just use the image container class name. Now we got this, and we can change the style as we did here using the style method. So here we just write image container, and we change the style by just adding .style, and the method we want to use is transform, and we equal it to just say translate x and minus 500 pixels. And now if we click here, we see the next image, but we're just seeing the next one because we just used minus 500 pixels. If you want to see the third one, you just have to add 1000 pixels. So just pay attention for how we style. As you can see, the JavaScript syntax for styling is a little bit different from the in the CSS. So in order to have the dynamics pixels, so we can go using this current image index to see the next image. We can use the backtick instead of the double quote. We just say backtick. We change this one to backtick, and instead of this 1000, we added $, open a set of curly braces, and inside this, we just say current image index, but we have to multiply it to 500. But if we click now, we see the third image instead of the second image. The reason we see the third image because the current image index is 1, and we incremented 1, and it becomes 2, and 2 multiplied to 500 is 1000. In order to fix this one, we can just add a parenthesis here and minus this one to 1. So as a default, the current image is 1. So here is 0, and we have 0 pixels. That is the first image. And when we press next, this one is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1, and 1 multiplied to 500 is 500. So we can go next, but after the last image, we see nothing because we are going outside the images. So we have to limit this current image index. So here at the top, we add a state condition. We just say if the current image is more than the number of images. How we get the number of images? We have to target the image tag actually inside the JavaScript. So here at the top, we just say count all the images. We just say imgs elements. We just say document dot query selector all, and the element we want to get is the img tag. So this method actually returning all the images and put them inside this. And if we console log this, we just say log, and we console log this and see it in the console. In order to see the console, we just need to click on this hamburger, and we click on open dev tools, and we just need to save. Just add a semicolon here. So this is 17. We have an error here. Yeah, we didn't finish this one yet, so that's why we're getting an error. So we just delete this one, so don't get the error. So now we console log the images element. We got 4 elements, and the length is 4. So we delete this console log, and we add the condition again. We just say if current image index is more than images element dot length, which is this one, 4. If this one is more than 4, just bring it to the beginning. Just say current image is equal to 1. So when we click on this button and we go to the next image, and when we go to the last one, we go back to the first one. Let's add some transition to the image. So when we go to the next one, we see some transition. So inside style.css in image container, we add a transition on transform property that we use inside the JavaScript file. And we just say, do it in 0.4 seconds and in ease and out way. Now, if we go to the next image, we see the transition. And in the last image, we go back to the first image. Let's do this trick for this button as well, the previous one. The previous icon has the class of prev. So we target this first inside the JavaScript. So we go up, we just say const preview previous element, and we just use the query selector method to target the class. The class was prev, and the CSS selector is dot for the classes. So we just say dot prev. And just under this function, we added this function for the prev element. We just say dot add event listener, and the event we want to add is the same as the next one, and it's click. And we add a function that will be triggered when the event happens. Here is the opposite of the next. Instead of incrementing, we should decrement and decrease one number from the current image. So we just say current image minus, and we update the image. So when we go next, we can come back using previous one. But here, if we click in the first image, we don't go actually anywhere. But we have to decrease it. So we go to the last image actually. So we add a else if here, and say if the current image is less than 1. So we just set the current image to the number of images, which is the last image, which is the images dot length. So we did the opposite of the next one. So we go back, we see the last image. We go next, we see the first image. Now we want to add a timer, so we see this effect like automatically when someone comes to our website. We see the next image like every 3 seconds or so. For doing so, we just add a set timeout method. We just say set timeout, and we set timeout actually sets a timer which triggers a function after the timer expires. So it has two parameters. The first one is a function, and the last one is the delay or the timer. So we just say 3 seconds, we just say 3000 milliseconds, which is 3 seconds, and we say that increase the current image number 1 and call this image update image function. So when the function triggers, and we have to actually call the function at the top, so we just say update image. So when the code reach this line, calls this function. When it finishes reading the function, it comes to this point. And after 3 seconds, this function inside will be triggered, and the number of the current image increases, the index increases, and the function will be triggered again. And this loop is going to happen on and on forever, as you can see here. But the problem is when you press the next or previous button too much, this timer is going to call more than one time, and we are having more than one timer at a time. So in order to fix this, we should reset the timer each time we click on these buttons. There is a method called clear set timeout, so we can use for resetting the set timeout method. First, we need to actually create a variable called, for example, timeout, and we equal this set timeout to this timeout. And each time we click on the buttons, for example, next or previous, after increasing the number, we should clear the timeout method. But which timeout method? The one that has the name timeout. So we set here. So we just, inside the parentheses, we write timeout. And we have to do this one for the previous one as well. So we just say clear timeout, the timeout variable. So now, if someone comes to the website, see the slides working, and we just need to, when they press, go next, previous. And the timer is reset, so it's not working and not interrupting us. And when we finish clicking, the timer starts working again. Also, we can now increase the number of images as well. So with no problem, we just need to copy this image using, for example, Alt-Shift-Arrow down. And we change the ID to, for example, this one 200. So just if you can see that automatically it's going to show us 5 images instead of 4 images. You see the 5th one. And also it works with the button as well. So we can easily increase or decrease the number of images. And the project is still going to work because we made it dynamically using the length method, because we are getting the number of all images instead of just writing down 4 here or 5. Yeah, that was it for our project. I hope you enjoyed and learned new things. So see you in the next project.